Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Horror Debate. I'm Michael Mandy. He's Rowdy Jeff.
And this week we are reviewing the 2007 adaptation of Zodiac.
Not the Zodiac.
Not the Zodiac.
That's a 2005 film.
That's a different movie.
This is Zodiac.
Directed by David Fincher, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Mark Ruffalo. Also with a nice little appearance by Anthony Edwards, who I kind of dig, actually. He's a good actor, you know, the ER guy.
Uh-huh. And Ryan Cox was in it. He was the bad guy, the X-Men 2.
Yeah,
and,
Robert Downey Jr., which I'm not a huge fan of.
He wasn't sober in this movie, so I think that was a method acting kind of thing here.
Oh, man. Okay. So what's the plot, Mike?
Plot of this film, if you've heard the other reviews, you know it. It's about a guy who, a psycho murder guy who, in Vallejo and in Lake Berryessa, California, and in San Francisco, killed a few people and wrote letters to the police department, putting them in codes and basically kind of goading the police on. And then he stopped writing letters and all the leads dried up, and it's still unsolved to this day.
Yeah, and you know how closely involved that I was with this whole thing. If you listen to the other review, this movie... comparative to the last movie that we watched which was the Zodiac of 2005. You know, if that movie was a can of soda, okay, let's say the 2005 movie was a can of Coke, okay, and you poured that can of Coke into this glass, okay, this movie would be that can of Coke, except with about 10 pounds of ice in it, completely diluted. Okay.
And about 2 weeks old, kind of flat.
Completely diluted and flat.
Flat.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, I love details, Mike. I love, especially with these crime dramas. You know, based on a true story, it's got all the hooks that would normally grab me, and that I would love this movie. You know, not so much on this one.
Well, this film, I think, out of all the films, really sticks to the details. The problem is there's so many details that it kind of drags it down as a film.
Right, and I think there were some liberties taken with some of the details to make them more exciting for the film adaptation.
And it really wasn't that exciting.
Which it didn't do any good. I mean, I would rather just stick to the facts that were actually presented. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, one thing that kind of scared me on this film was on the trailer. For one of the characters is in a basement and he hears something and is there someone in the house? And the trailer made it look like it was.
I thought Jason was going to come down with a hatchet.
Yeah, the trailer made it look like it was going to be one of those "don't go in the house" kind of films, and I was going, "Oh God, no," because that didn't really happen.
Right.
And fortunately, it was just one of those artificial suspense builders. Because this film has no action.
But it didn't really build any suspense. It didn't do anything for the story. All it did was make Jake, Gyllenhaal look completely freaked out and run out the door. I mean,
well, that was the most action we had.
Well,
and the whole
we didn't need.
We needed something. This
action.
movie was 2.5 hours.
No.
We needed something besides a bathroom break.
If you present the information in an entertaining way, you don't need action per se. I mean, I think the problem was that the characters were just so drab. Everything was just kind of the spoken word.
Yeah.
You made the comment when we were coming out of the theater that, oh boy, I'm glad we saw that in THX.
Yeah, surround sound.
I'm cracking up.
It's all talking back and forth.
I'm cracking up because I'm like, he's right. There was nothing. I mean, I don't think the surround speakers even were turned on, man. No. I mean, but that's not what this movie's about. This movie was about presenting, in some organized fashion, the facts of the case. Apparently, they did their research. I will give them that.
Yes.
They did their research. They did have all the pertinent information and facts of the case.
And even went on location on a few spots, too.
Yeah, I saw a lot of my V-Town landmarks, I mean, like the Ace Hardware on Tennessee Street. They used the actual police station, so of course I grew up there. I mean, I lived there all my life till about 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, that's always good if you can get to that place where things actually happened, and especially the people that are from that area. They mentioned we watched the film in Vacaville, California, which is about 30 minutes away from Vallejo, and Vacaville was actually mentioned in the movie during a newscast that was being played, and you heard the crowd go whoop whoop, we're in Vacaville, so that always adds a little bit. It's fun to see that, to see a movie like this in the area that it was, actually written about, but unfortunately, like I said, man, that can of Coke is getting real freaking flat, man, and
I think I can safely live without seeing another Zodiac film.
Yeah. Well,
this one kind of covered everything.
This one, yeah, it did, and for that, it's completely valid. I think what they were trying to do is like info glut, get as much stuff in there as they absolutely can.
That's a good term. I like that.
And for that, I praise them a little bit for that because I love facts, especially like I said, when it's based on truth. It's a fantastic thing. It fills out the story, but it wasn't presented. I think he had the wrong cast to do this. I don't know. It just kind of seemed to me like, Jake was kind of dull, and I've never seen Jake excited ever. I don't care what he's played. I've never seen the man excited. Robert Downey.
I've seen Mark Ruffalo excited because in the movie In the Cut.
Yeah. Okay.
He was with
Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan,
right.
Thank you. And he saw her totally naked.
Well,
so he was very
maybe we
excited.
should have flashed a picture of that up so he could have woke up a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, remember this? Yeah.
Actually, of all the characters in the movie, the Mark Ruffalo's character was probably the most entertaining, along with Anthony Edwards.
I don't know. Robert Downey Jr. was kind of, he had a few good one-liners.
I might be a little biased on this one, but I've never seen a Robert Downey Jr. flick that I dug, man. I don't think I've ever seen. I mean, the little parts that he had, like in Back to School and stuff like that, I could get with that because he wasn't on the screen that much, But I've never been a huge fan of his, and I thought he was okay. He did what he was supposed to do, but anybody could have done that role. Anybody.
Yeah, but he brought the whole method acting to it because, hey, I'm drunk and here I am.
Okay. Well, like I said, I think anybody could have pulled that off.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything special that you sat there and went, oh, man, he really nailed that. I mean, it just didn't happen.
Yeah, this movie was basically a long, drawn-out police procedural.
Which is not a bad thing if it's presented in a way that will entertain you.
It's a long, drawn-out.
It's a diluted can of Coke.
Yeah, emphasize those first two words.
Yeah, there were
it's
some
2.5 hours long too, folks.
There were some highlights. I mean, it did shed even as close as I am to the story because of what I've said in previous reviews. It did shed some light on certain areas that you may not have known. Even being really close to the story, growing up in that city. And for that, I like I said, I can't fault it for that. I just think it was presented in a way where you could sit there and like file your nails and get a manicure and a pedicure and just kind of like, I don't know. There was no reason to have this in a theater.
It should have been on the History Channel.
Yeah, it was. It's almost like a dissertation in crime drama.
Yeah, or a study or something.
Yeah,
show this in college. Here's how to investigate.
Right.
One thing that kind of irked me about this film was. They went to great lengths to manufacture that suspense with that scene in the basement at the projectionist house. But one scene where they had an opportunity and they totally dropped the ball was when he was on the highway in Salinas and he stopped that lady in the car and he said, "Oh, I need to hit your tires," and he messed with the lug nut so the tire fell off. And then they're in the car and he says, "I'm going to throw your baby out the window." Blab. Because in real life, what happened was he got on the freeway the wrong way, and when he stopped to back up, she hopped out of the car and there was a big chase scene in the fields where she hid, and then he got frustrated and drove off. This movie just totally misses that whole chase scene and all that suspense. It's just she's in the car. Next scene, she's on the side of the freeway going, "Oh my God, someone help me."
Well, let me tell you another thing that I noticed.
They missed all that
right off the bat. I'm looking at the movie on IMDb.com. Okay, before we even go,
the Internet Movie Database.
I'm looking at the movie and I'm going, okay, it's like 150 something minutes. Okay, so they're gonna go literally beginning of the story to literally end of the story.
It's 158.
Then the first thing that happens in the movie is the second murder. And I'm going,
the second. What happened to the first?
Where's the first?
Uh-huh.
Where's the Blue Rock Springs or the Lake Herman Road incident? Or, what's the deal with this? They briefly mention it after the second murder, but it's like you almost feel like you kind of just got thrown in, And
it's funny because the other Zodiac movie ends with the Paul Stein murder, and this one kind of starts out.
You know what?
That one ended too soon, and this one started too late.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to stick with my guns. The 2005 version of this movie is better.
The low-budget one directed by a first-time guy.
Yeah, is better.
Is better than this one by the guy who did Alien 3 and Panic Room. And
Yeah. This one this one takes patience. Okay, you got to be into the subject material. you got to have some interest in this thing from the get-go, or you're done.
Yeah, you would be if you lived in, say, Minot, North Dakota.
Yeah.
You would probably be so bored with this film.
The people behind us in the theater, you heard them.
Yeah,
they were snoring.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was a long, drawn out journey that didn't really need to be that way. You know, so if I had to star this thing out,
star it, Jeff. Star it.
I'm gonna give it 2 stars, Mike.
Yes, my point exactly.
Yeah.
I was 2 stars all the way.
Yeah, you know,
I give him props for going with the facts, sticking with the facts, not doing like that other film and manufacture a generic character that has traits of lots of different people to simplify things. This one sticks to the facts. The problem is there's a lot of boring facts.
Can you imagine the uncut version of this? I mean, can you imagine going to the store after sitting through this in the theater and looking at the DVD that says 29 minutes of extra feature, not features, but
I don't think there will be
cut.
extras on this because this was filmed with a digital camera,
yeah,
and it was filmed on computer, and so all the bad takes, they just said delete the last 10 takes.
That sucks.
Yeah, so it sucks. Really, no, I think it's glad we won't have extra features.
Yeah,
there will be no director's extended.
I just couldn't see him doing it, man. I mean, it's drawn out long enough the way it is.
Yeah, this movie's way too long at 158 minutes.
I think an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, we could have covered it, and we could have even in that time frame started with the very first murder.
Another thing, this movie has got to have the title, the smallest I have ever seen in a movie ever. You see the scene, and it's a city scene, and the killer, and all of a sudden in teeny letters in the far left corner, Zodiac.
You know, let me mention something else I didn't like about this flick is the fact that it focused so much more on the San Francisco end of everything, where the real basis of this whole story
started from
was Vallejo, the Napa area,
the Lake Berryessa
area, and who wants to sit inside the San Francisco freaking examiner's office, right, and watch these guys smoke and poke around on a typewriter at like 2 words per minute
and wear cheesy little bow ties.
I was like, what is going on? Why are you doing this? You know, and I, you know what? But I'll counter that by something I did like, which the other movie, the 2005 movie, touched on a little bit, but didn't go nearly into it in depth with it. Is the police officers after the taxi cab driver was murdered, okay? And the police officers are driving down the road. These bright people that they are, they see this guy walking away from the crime scene, right? But because he doesn't fit the the description,
which was wrong,
which was completely wrong, and I don't know what even they based that off of. What did they base the description off of? They said it was a black male, right? And what was the basis for that?
I don't know.
Because somebody got shot? I mean, I don't get that, okay? So the cops actually in this movie, they show them sitting there getting drilled by the SFPD going, and you saw this guy and you stopped and talked to him and
you let him go?
And you let him go and you didn't question him? You know,
he wasn't covered in blood.
Yeah, well, admittedly, it was dark.
Yeah.
Duh. This whole thing could have been solved. Remember in the letter that Zodiac wrote after he did that?
Yeah, where he said, they almost got me.
He was in the park.
Yep.
He was in the park. He said, instead of racing up and down the street on your little motorcycles, if you would have come and searched the area, you would have had me. You know? And I'm sitting there just like, incredulous. Just like, oh my goodness, how could they do that, you know? So anyway, Mike.
All right, 2-star film.
2 stars. It's frustrating.
It's long.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of points to the true story are even very frustrating for me to sit and watch again. But this movie was absolutely it was a frustrating experience.
Yeah.
2.5 hours of it just kind of grates on you, man.
Yeah, especially the last half of it where it's all Zodiac stopped writing letters and it's just the police going back and forth, competing with each other's police departments. But San Francisco doesn't want to give Vallejo. Well, what do you got for me? What have you got for me?
Right. Everybody wants to be the one to crack the case.
So
right?
at least this film succeeded in that point where it emphasized the competition between the police department. The other film didn't do.
What do you say, Gyllenhaal? Is that how you say it? Okay.
Yeah.
His character, I really kind of fancied that character a little bit because when the cops were giving up, you know, when everybody was just saying, you know what, it's been like years since we've gotten a letter, there's been no activity, that character kept it going, and he wasn't going to quit till he got it done. Now, you know, and the cops are all saying, well, you know, this is my case to do. Well, then do it.
Yeah, that's my job. That's my job.
That's why he's doing it, because you're not. You know what I mean? So anyway, I could talk all night on this, man. But
all right, Zodiac. 2 stars.
2 stars, absolutely, and it's too bad.
Yeah, too bad. So, I'm Michael Mandy. He's Rowdy Jeff. We'll talk to you next week at the Horror Debate.